Call this meeting to order. Start with a prayer and a pledge. Heavenly Father, thank you for gathering us together to do your will and the will of the residents of this city. Help us to do it faithfully. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Powell?
Here.
Mr. Bronner?
Here.
Mr. Bishop is absent. Mr. Boehner is absent. Mr. Tommen?
Here.
Mrs. Kroger? Here. Mrs. Edichico is absent.
All right, we have a quorum for business, but not for supermajority legislation.
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Bishop, Mr. Boehner, and Mrs. Edichico.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Powell, second by Mr. Bronner to excuse those who are absent. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Audience seeking participation. Anyone in the audience who is not a presenter, you're a presenter, seeking participation. Really?
We can approve the minutes from last week, or 2
Oop,
weeks ago.
did I miss that? I did, I missed that because I wrote the excusal beforehand. Sorry. Let me back up, thank you. Well, seek approval of the minutes from the September 6th meeting. Has everybody read them?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 6th regular meeting.
So
Second.
So motion by Mr. Bronner, second by Mr. Powell to approve the September 6th meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Sorry, I wrote that in the wrong place. The first one. All right, now audience seeking participation. Second chance. Anybody? All right, moving on. Reading of communications. There is one. Carla, please take it away.
This is from Tim Newman, Executive Director of ICRC-TV. Hello, Reading Council members. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Tim Newman, and I'm the Executive Director at the ICRC. I met some of you last year when you came to the ICRC studio to record your candidate videos. I've become aware there has been some discussion at a recent committee meeting regarding ESP media being considered as an alternative to ICRC. While I am unaware of how far along the discussion is, I feel it's important that everyone knows the resources that are already available through ICRC. I've attached a one-page outline that I hope reintroduces you to the ICRC and the benefits of being a longtime member. In addition to the list of programs on the outline, we are currently working on a documentary for Reading Community Schools' 100th anniversary. A trailer will be premiered at the Settlement Day dinner on October 1st, as well as a video on the legacy of the late Mary Haskamp. I would welcome the opportunity to talk with all of you in person at a committee or council meeting to answer any questions you have. I look forward to your response. Sincerely, Tim Newman.
Make a motion that we mark it received and filed.
Second.
So a motion by Mr. Powell to receive and file, and second by Mrs. Kroger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, guest speakers from the Hamilton County Planning Commission. Please state your name so that we can hear it correctly.
Yes, thank you. My name is Luke Orednik, and I'm here from Hamilton County Planning and Development. Am I good to continue?
Yes, whatever you've got, go ahead.
Excellent, thank you. So first off, thank you all for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to be here presenting in front of you all. As I said, my name is Luke Rednick, and I'm here to talk about the Reconnecting Communities Pilot Discretionary Grant Program, which I provided a handout for. That's just a one-page summary. So this program is a federal grant that Hamilton County Planning and Development is pursuing currently. Ultimately, the goal of the RCP program, as we call it, is to reconnect communities by removing, retrofitting, or mitigating transportation facilities, such as highways and rail lines that create barriers to community connectivity and mobility. Now, in this region, as I'm sure many people are acutely aware, there have been a variety of issues related oftentimes to the rail lines passing through many of the nearby communities, as well as I understand it, Reading is impacted by these rail lines as well. And recognizing that there is a severe need to address the issues that have been created by the rails, we are seeking to apply for a planning grant or funding for a planning grant in order to conduct a study on the area to find potential alternatives and solutions to some of these problems that have occurred in the area for a substantial length of time. And so with that in mind, I wanted to come today to ask you all to support an ordinance or a letter of support to Hamilton County Planning and Development in order to show your support of this effort and to provide us a little bit of strength to our application so that when the federal government sees our application and sees the potential of this region to have some pretty incredible economic development, as well as just reconnecting a lot of families and friends that have been disconnected by the rail lines, as well as potentially the highway. We think that this is something worth pursuing. And so we're here to ask you today for your support of this.
So do you have is that the resolution that Mr. Boehner brought to us?
I believe so.
Okay,
Can I have a question?
go ahead.
Just for like background, what kind of solutions have you seen done in other areas? Or is this the exact first time that they've ever done funding like this?
So this program is brand new. This is the first funding year. It's the first year in a 5-year funding cycle that's been created. Ultimately, the idea is that with the successful planning grant application, in the future, some of the solutions that are identified could be used to apply for a capital construction grant, which is outlined briefly on the document that I provided for you all. In terms of where this has occurred in other places, there are a lot of communities across America that have been disconnected by all different forms of transit passing through. I think that in terms of other solutions that we've seen, a lot of them are pretty intensive engineering solutions, whether it's creating a bridge or something along those lines. The idea ultimately is we recognize this is a very complex region. We have the confluence of a highway, Interstate 75, passing through the area. We have multiple rail lines passing through the area. And on top of all that, we have the Mill Creek and thousands of people that we have to kind of work with and negotiate in order to find a real solution to this. And we recognize that's a complex process. And that's why we're, for one, applying for this grant to help us get a planning study in line to assess what those solutions may be. I think that there's a variety of different alternative solutions out there. I can't say with any certainty that there's like a definitive solution for this area, but it's something that's being addressed across the country, as is seen by this grant program becoming available. I think the federal government has a vested interest in making sure that a lot of communities that have struggled because of interacting with these different forms of transportation, they don't want them to fall through the cracks, and they want to make sure that there's funds available to help them overcome some of those engineering issues that are present.
And then what, as far as capital dollars, have they seen would be awarded by the grant? Have they given you any information on the back end of, hey, do you have to turn it in per project basis, like this area needs this kind of work? Or is it, hey, we're awarding you this and it'll help with phase 1 or phase 2 of what you turn in? Can you speak to that process a little bit with your project for this?
Absolutely. So this grant, the range of the award can vary anywhere from $100,000 to $2 million. We're currently in internal discussions at the county in terms of exactly what our proposal will look like for the budget. Ultimately, though, the idea is that the 5 jurisdictions that we've asked to be a part of this program or a part of this application, which are here, the city of Reading, Arlington Heights, Lincoln Heights, Lockland, and Evendale. Ultimately, we want this planning study to be something that is financed by the county. Like I've said, we're in internal discussions as to what that dollar amount will look like, but we're not asking for a financial commitment from communities. And aside from that $100,000 to $2 million award, with a capital construction grant, it can be anywhere from $5 million to $100 million.
So the grant money we're looking for now is specifically for a study.
Correct.
This isn't for any kind of construction or anything else. We're just trying to look into, you know, the east-west connections and what we can do. Because I feel like we've been down this road here in Reading before, to be honest, and you know, our east-west connectors are Columbia and Benson Street for the most part. On the other side of town, Galbraith, but I mean, we don't have the Mill Creek involved. And I know there's significant, you know, pitfalls that go along with those connectors. We have obviously the Mill Creek, then you have the railroad. There's be a lot of impact as far as businesses. There are a lot of homes, you know, on both sides. Can you speak directly to our community and somewhat of the little bit longer term, what the project may look like for us and what possibly say we do the study, what percentage, feasibility is there for our city?
So I think in terms of potential applications here in Reading, I know that there are some students that are part of the Laughlin School District, I believe, that often have to travel from here to Laughlin for school, or vice versa. Oftentimes trains serve as they disconnect students from school. I know it's also happened in terms of emergency services. I've spoken with the mayor of Arlington Heights, and oftentimes they're blocked off from being able to access a significant chunk of their community by stopped trains. And oftentimes cities like Reading or other neighboring jurisdictions have to send some sort of emergency aid in order to make sure that those situations can be handled in a timely manner. I mean, it's a pretty significant issue. And I think that in terms of the financials of it, I can't say exactly what percentage at this point of any study would focus specifically on Reading, but I think the idea is that with a regional approach, everyone benefits. And so I can't give you an exact percentage, but I think it would be a net positive for the city of Reading. I also know that a lot of the areas that are in Western Reading happen to be in a 100-year floodplain. This grant has a pretty wide scope in terms of the issues it wants to address. It also wants to address environmental issues in the area, and so mitigating some of those flood zones could ultimately be the result of a capital construction grant. That could be something that gets woven into that.
Other questions? So you don't have a specific set of projects at this point, is that correct?
The idea is for the planning study to identify what those projects would look like. And then it can also include preliminary engineering and design work. Obviously, with a planning grant, we can't necessarily go on ahead and start constructing anything, but the idea is that this lays a very strong foundation to move forward and start constructing some of those projects. And the money's available.
Going to.
Good.
There was a meeting in Arlington Heights last week, and there were some possible solutions because I asked the question, if we're talking about relief for Reading residents, traveling east and west as far as the railroad is concerned, and, you're not willing or can't go to Glendale, Milford, or to Galbraith, I think there were two possibilities discussed. And that was a bridge that, from what brief discussion I had with Mayor Laughlin and Arlington Heights as well, that might begin at Riesenberg Lane, go up and over top of the railroad tracks, up and over top of the creek, and dead end, or go in, drop into Shepherd at some point, and it wouldn't be able to be a straight drop. It'd probably have to wind to the north or the south. Benson Street at this point, especially with the I-75 overpass, wouldn't be feasible, and I can't imagine it being feasible either. If you can imagine to get up and over top of a railroad track and allow a train to get underneath it, it's a pretty long span. The Mayor Laughlin's adamantly opposed to giving up any more land in Laughlin, and he said his council as well, the pillars and some type of a bridge. But the one that was discussed the most was Columbia Avenue. And, when you discuss the fire over in Arlington Heights, I've had discussions too with our Safety and Services Director, Police Chief, Fire Chief, and we share a police and fire department with Arlington. By the time we left this building, went Market Street to Columbia, and Columbia and up and over a winding bridge that ended up over by GE, and then got to Arlington Heights, it'd be easier to go to Galbraith Road. So anyway, there were things discussed, there were specifics, because I asked if they could tunnel under the railroad track. They said no, was the response I got. It was a short answer. They said some of that was because of the creek. But basically, it was down to a bridge that would go over, that would be on Columbia Avenue and go to Shepherd. And
Bob Ashbrook, I see you there. Do you have that drawing that you had before showing that crossing?
I do not have it with me now. It has been widely shared.
Can you get with Luke here later on and he's got it? Okay.
Yes.
So you know what we're talking about then?
100%.
Okay. Any others? Anything to add?
I think that this is an excellent opportunity for the city of Reading to invest in its future. And I think doing it with neighboring jurisdictions is an excellent regional approach. I don't think there's really much to lose at all in supporting this measure or in creating an ordinance in support of it. And I think that the long-term potential is pretty incredible. And with that, I'll say thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luke.
That's it for guest speakers. So moving on, executive session, there's none scheduled. Is there need for one? Moving on, legislative session. First up is the reading of resolutions.
A resolution of support for the Reconnecting Communities pilot grant application by Hamilton County Planning and Development to secure funding for a planning study to identify ways and means of evaluating east to west mobility and connectivity problems in central Hamilton County.
Okay, because this is a resolution, it can be passed with 4 only if you wish. Still need 3 readings. So if you want to kick it off for tonight and move through.
We just have a reading.
Okay. Moving on, ordinances, and go ahead, Carla.
An ordinance authorizing an agreement between the City of Reading and the Board of Hamilton County Commissioners relative to the improvement of Furman Road and declaring an emergency.
Okay, so we have only 4 people, can't suspend the rules requiring a second and third reading. Moving on to miscellaneous business. Any miscellaneous business?
I do have something, Mr. President. I'd like to, on behalf of Mrs. Edichico, announce a Laws and Contracts Committee meeting next Tuesday, the 27th at 6:30 p.m. I don't know if we'll be in the caucus room or in here. It'll be either or.
She told me
What's the
council
date on that?
chambers.
It is council chambers?
That's what she told me, yes.
Okay. So in council chambers,
Okay, what's the date?
9/27.
Okay,
And I have a couple.
very good. Go ahead.
Oh, do you want to go? Did you raise your hand?
That's all right. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to quickly say that I passed out some reports for when you guys, have all that time in the world, 179 pages for our audit for 2020 and 2021. So get excited about that. It was finally certified by the auditor of state and everything and checked out fine. So just wanted to tell you that. But then the second email I sent is a little better snapshot. And they do, the reason why I waited so long to give these out is because I think I talked to the finance committee and told them it was available. But then I waited for the financial health indicators, which is 17 different outlooks on our city. So they do that for 2020 and 2021 when we do our gap statement early in the year. And they finally certified the final outlook on both of those reports after doing the full audit on them. So I passed them out to everybody. So those are about 11 pages for each. And I wanted to highlight that, being here at the city for 7 years, every column had a positive outlook except for, which is the best, except for in 2020, number 6 was cautionary. And then they also have a red line that's critical. So the reason why number 6 was cautionary is it dealt with like property taxes and things like that for that year and that turmoil in there. So from 2020 to 2021, that turned green. And then there's only so much control we have as a city for that stuff. So, right, like it's about the money that's brought in different ways, but there's only so much control as a city you have. It's not like that we didn't collect enough money. It's just what we were trickled down to. So I want to make you aware of that. But there's been many years where some of these, went into a critical outlook or outside, but the 17 different indicators on there, I'll give you a brief snapshot of what that overall 179-page report shows you for the actual audit for the 2 years. Anything that we have to fix on the city side is not financially driven. So there's just some policies. When I first started, they went from 4 pages of audit work to 7+ pages of audit work. So they're looking at more holistically a city than before. And, for myself, I give a little bit of pushback of where some of these things should lay, just because it's harder and harder to like get all those things together for them in a timely manner in their reporting. So I feel like if they add things on certain years, they should drop things if they've already been looked at the year before. So once again, high five to all our departments and all our department heads for a great job on that and helping with it, because, the reason why we do so well is because of our great people that work here. So thank everybody for that. So.
And thank you, Sabrina.
Over here? No, go ahead.
Benson Street will be closed tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the Bridal District's Fall in Love event. Our service department will have detours set up, but anyway, hopefully everybody will make it down to Benson Street and enjoy that event. It's always neat, but again, Benson Street will be closed, from Reading Road to Walkendorf, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. October 1st is our Settlement Day Dinner, always a great event each year for our Reading Historical Society. Jim Booth will be recognized, Dean Harlemos from Quality Sports, and Reading Schools on their 100th anniversary, so please get out and support our Reading Historical Society. I have tickets if you need them. I believe they're $20 for adults. A great deal. You get a good meal and always a great time. Also on October 1st, our city garage will be open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Again, another cleanup Reading day. It won't be what we do in April each year, but the garage will be open if neighborhoods collect bags of garbage and things and want to get a hold of us. Our service department will pick them up. But, again, only acceptable items. No tires, batteries, oils, paints, ammunition, chemicals. So if you have a question, please call us. We will answer that. And again, the deadline to register to vote in this year's election is October 11th. Early voting starts October 12th. Absentee voting begins October 12th. Election day is November 8th, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Anybody else? You got one? Okay. All right, that moves us to the point of adjournment, if anyone wishes to make such a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Bronner to adjourn, a second by Mrs. Kroger. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to roll right into the Council of the Whole meeting. Mr. Powell has already mentioned that he has a couple of things he wanted to cover. Go ahead.
Yes, in Mr. Bishop's absence, he asked me to go over a couple of items that we had been working on in the utilities, lands, and buildings. He had forwarded emails out to all the council members. Had you guys had an opportunity to review that information?
Yes.
Okay, the first I want to talk about was the consideration of us switching television or media providers from ICRC to ESP Media. Kind of looking pros and cons of it all. Kind of the gist of what came out of the committee meeting is, I believe the quality would be higher, the level of services probably more aligned in what is going on now, and it would save the city a significant chunk of money that we could utilize for other things. So that was kind of the take. The committee itself recommends that the administration move forward with the proposal to switch to ESP Media. So this will be coming up at a council meeting in the future, because we do have to make and let ICRC know if we're going to make a switch. I believe we have to let them know probably in the next month or so. So, do you guys have any questions or discussion on that?
I went to Amberley Village's site and checked out, council meeting video and some of the podcasts that they did with Officer Fritsch, I believe it was, and some of the promotional videos just to help out the community. And I was really impressed. For the savings, it was still high quality work.
Right.
Dave, if I could add one thing too, and just looking into the future a little bit, the way ICRC is funded, with people cutting the cord, so to speak, these days, there's been a slow progression in the money, that we're losing the income. Every time somebody cuts a cord, it's less money to the city also. And I think that's going to continue. So, that's also something we need to look at. It'll be, more expensive as we go along, so.
Okay, if nobody else has any further discussion on that, we'll move on to the subject of some easements that Duke Energy is seeking up at the corner of Columbia and Furman. There's currently I'd call it like a gas regulator station in the grass area at basically the top of Maple Drive on the south side of Maple Drive. It's a green pipe that sticks out of the ground. It's my understanding that Duke wants to complete the project in 2 different phases. This is a safety improvement. The first phase will not get rid of the facility at the top of Maple. The second phase will actually. So what Duke is seeking is a permanent easement for the regulator station, I believe is what it is, 2 pipeline easements to get the gas to and from that, and then also a easement for a parking space that they were going to develop. The safety service director actually communicated with Duke and requested that they provide some screening around the facilities that are going to go in. So they kind of did a rudimentary sketch on that, but they want to provide us with money to hire a landscaper ourselves that we're comfortable with to come in and plant screening around the facilities once constructed. So
Is it that entire stretch of land that goes, to the property line, homeowners?
yes, but the regulating station is proposed to be out closer to Columbia. The parking space is going to be closer to the homeowner there on Furman. So, and it's, not the entire property. When they're building it, they're going to, or they're requesting a temporary easement over the entire property, so they have room to lay down and park equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no
At
no other
the
place to
end,
park.
and they'll have to, at one point, come back for, when they go to construct the second phase, come back for an additional temporary easement, because the first one will have expired by the time they get around to doing the second phase. So that was, a few representatives from Duke came to the committee meeting and were explaining what was, what they needed on that, so.
So improve safety at somebody else's expense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the ratepayers will be paying for it, but, yeah.
So does Duke have someone who can come to council and present that for everyone?
Yeah, we could, when they actually present the easement, I'm sure we could get somebody out there. They have a community liaison that could come out and probably speak to us once they finalize what they're going to ask for. What we were looking at was kind of preliminary stuff.
And can we get the property owner at that point in time?
The property owner?
Yeah, whoever that easement's going to be on.
Or it's us.
City of Reading.
City of Reading, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounded to me like there was some residents near there.
There's a resident on Furman that adjoins the property.
Okay, I'd like to have him or her or them show up as well if possible
Okay.
for their
Please be
input.
informed.
Yeah,
Already told him, but it'd be better to get him here and be more exact. I didn't take the drawings, but
Sure.
I did speak to him after that meeting.
Okay, good. So that was all that I had about those 2 items.
anybody else? There's one thing left to do.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Kroger, second by, was that Mr. Tomlin? To adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, everybody have a good night.